Alright, it's working now. Okay, we are now recording. So, what's new, guys? How we all doing?
How you doing?
Yeah. Yeah,
Today,
I'm good.
Croatic learned how to stream.
Yeah, well, no, I learned how to force my settings to
There you go.
be correct on my laptop so I can actually record. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, we are. Man, there's a lot going on. I am
Big time.
Yeah, I'm working on the community initiative site right now, which is actually live already. But I'm making some more updates to it, changing a few things. So that is on the name Community TAC Initiatives. If people don't know what a TAC is, it's a hyphen. So community hyphen initiatives. You can check that out on QDN. We are putting that together along with the community marketing server for now on Discord until we get QChat just a little bit further along. Obviously, we've been having some fun times in QChat lately with someone who claims to hate the project and hate the leadership, yet he's spending basically all of his time focused on the project. So, that's a little bit of a backwards from what it seems to be. It's to me, right? Like, why is this guy spending all of his time focused on Qortal if he doesn't like Qortal, right? Like, so it's interesting. So we've had a couple issues there with this guy learning how to take advantage of a bug thanks to someone putting that information out publicly that was found out about the day previous in the dev server. So yeah, we mentioned that there was a potential issue with reactions and the ability to potentially make messages look like they were coming from another account when in reality they're not. It's just the way that it's being done in the back end right now, which we are modifying. But we found out about it literally the day before. And then someone seems to have put that information out publicly, and it got into the hands of this one person who loves trying to attack the platform. And so that was fun. We fixed one of the issues, but apparently there's still another one. And so now he is spamming reactions in QChat. So that's something that people are dealing with at the moment. We will be handling that at the same time. We're almost done with that, but it's going to need a fork on the core to add some new functionality for QChat and the way that reactions are handled. So for now, we've got to deal with it. I suggest using groups on QChat to do messaging so that you don't get interrupted with the massive spam of reactions in general chat that's going on right now. So that's something where people can really start getting used to the fact that we have all the groups functionality now in the UI, so you can go in and create your own public or private group and do your communications and so forth there. As the project continues to grow, I would expect to see more of this type of nonsense, right? Like, well, you can't build something that will literally disrupt basically everything on the internet and expect it to be super smooth and no one have any issues with it and whatever forever, right? So, and as we get more and more exposure with all the marketing stuff we're planning and doing and all of the new functionality that we're going to be getting with Q apps, which I'm really excited about, we are going to get more and more of this type of troll-like behavior. But, every time something like this happens, it just makes the platform stronger. We end up improving things, making certain things better, adding other functionality and so forth. So, it is what it is, really. Like, we're going to be dealing with this basically forever. It's going to make it so that we have more options for people as far as in the future we might have to make it so that, you can block new people by default or just not display messages from new people by default. But in order to make that a reality, we also need to have a way for new users to introduce themselves to the community. So that's also going to come along with Q apps. We're going to have essentially a welcome board and also a sponsorship board, which also I would love to take a vote on modifying the terminology that we're using for sponsorship, because it just has too many negative connotations. And people see the word sponsorship, they think pyramid scheme, they think all of these things that are just not true, and they immediately get turned off based on that, which it's stupid that they do get turned off because of that, but it does happen. And I've seen it too many times, and it's annoying to deal with. So I really suggest that we modify that terminology. I would like to see it changed to something more like mentorship, which I think is a really cool one. I heard that. I don't remember who came up with it, so I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder from whoever did. But yeah, if we use the terminology mentorship, it's really cool, I think, because it's like mentorship, but for minting, so mentorship, I like it. But I have said quite a few times here recently that we're not going to be making any more big changes to the platform without the community's input. So we need to have the voting system before we can make these types of things happen. So I want to see that take place. I want to see the voting system go live as soon as possible and make all the decisions on these kinds of things with that. But yeah, we are pushing hard with marketing. We are pushing hard with the development to get to Q apps. We are testing Q apps now on the testnet, which I think I've mentioned before. I am going to be starting assisting designing the first 2 Q apps that will probably be released from us, which will be most likely a blog platform and a video hosting platform, the order of which I don't really care which one comes first. It's they're potentially the same thing, right? Like, you can post something, people can comment on that post, whether that post is a video or text with images, it doesn't really matter, right? So they could potentially almost be the same platform, just tweaked a little bit to be used for one or the other, right? And I think that once we have those demos, it's going to make getting the word out and getting people to use Qortal a lot easier, because they will have things that they can actually see, make use of, play around with, have some functionality that's built on top of Qortal, right? And now, yes, we have tons of other functionality, but right now it's more, the stuff that's completely finished is like the trade portal and so forth, and so it's more focused on like the financial aspect, but that's really not what Qortal is about. So of course that is a part of it, and we do need that part as well, and more people focused on assisting with keeping the markets moving and so forth is always good. But the main functionality of Qortal is the data storage, the hosting, the communications, right? So it's literally meant to rebuild essentially everything on the internet. And yes, it's a lofty goal, but as you can see, we have done everything else that we said we would do, and this is no exception. We are going to complete this as well, and most of the functionality actually already exists on the core side. We're just working on the UI side and working on getting the first few initial Q apps designed and built so that we can launch them. And the QChat database and protocol, which I've mentioned a few times, I'm sure that people remember me saying those things. They are actually, so I was a little bit misinformed or confused on how that's going to be implemented, and my confusion actually led to me being wrong in a good way. So we are actually going to have the database and the protocol get launched at the same time, because the database is reliant upon the protocol. So that's pretty cool. I know that Cal is actually in process with developing that now, so we will have both the QChat database and protocol at the same time, which means that we will have messages that can last longer, we will have quicker messaging, we will have less issues with messages not getting displayed correctly and so forth, or not being as real time as they should be, things like that. So when that happens, QChat will be essentially totally able to replace all desktop messaging platforms, and the ability to send, voice messages, files, pictures. We've got files and pictures already. Voice messaging is coming soon. So we will have all of this stuff that, Discord, Telegram have, except for the streaming, when we have the QChat database and protocol go live. So I am really excited about that. I think that there are a lot of other use cases for that people don't really think about, such as utilizing QChat to relay data for Q apps so that you can have real-time data coming from an application and going somewhere else and getting relay back and forth, right? So there's a lot of stuff that we can do with that, and I'm going to add more functionality to all of the sites that I have built on QDN, as well as we get more functionality in Q apps and so forth. So it's going to be a lot of fun here in the near future. I think that the marketing initiatives getting pushed forward now are good. It's going to make our job a whole lot easier once we have this other functionality, and when we get to the point of having the gateway authentication, then it'll be literally easier to use Q apps than it will be to use any sort of centralized web application, because people won't have to create a username and password combination. All they'll have to do is literally click a link, and then they can use that Q app. So that's going to be really, really essential, I think, for onboarding new users. I had thought that people would be a little bit more apt to want to set up the software, but it seems like we're going to need a little bit more for them to actually want to do that. So I think that having the ability to use stuff built on top of Qortal without doing anything. Now this means you can use it from your phone, you can use it from any computer, whatever, right? So it's not reliant upon you having anything installed on any of these devices. You access it like a normal website. It creates an account for you. Then you can download that account for when you do have a node set up, and import that account, take full ownership of it, register a name, do whatever you want, start minting, etc. So I think having that is going to make onboarding people a lot easier. I also wanted to address, so people have been constantly pointing out other projects, and I actually started mining one the other day, right? I think it was G who mentioned this project called Zano, and I had never heard of it. I was like, okay, let's check it out. They're talking about setting up a marketplace. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Look at it. Okay, seems decent. Proof of work, proof of stake, whatever, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm going to mine it, right? I haven't mined anything in a long time. Sounds like fun. So took me a minute. They did not have any guides on their site as far as setting up mining or how to mine or anything, so I had to figure it all out myself. Took me like 10 minutes or whatever, because I've done this way too many times. So I got it set up, started mining, immediately realized that 80% of the entire network's mining power is on one pool. Now this goes back to what I've said for a long time, that proof of work has a massive flaw when it comes to pooled mining, right? And that's how basically every proof of work coin is built. It all relies upon centralized mining pools, right? People don't mine solo. Mining solo is literally the only way that you can actually have decentralization and proof of work together. But no one mines solo, because mining solo is like playing the lottery, and you enter your tickets and you really just sit there and hope that one of them wins and you win the entirety of the block reward. Most people prefer having a stable mining income that comes in on a regular basis, right? And the only way to do that is to pool the power together, but you run into a big issue with centralization. And now having 80% of a network's mining power on a single pool means that if that one pool has any issues at all, 80% of the network is now no longer mining. Now that's really bad, right? So your whole network is actually reliant upon a single centralized entity. And this is how it goes with basically every proof of work coin. And so the ability to mint like we do with Qortal is huge. Like at the base level, the way that Qortal works, allowing everyone to mint and take part in signing blocks and contributing to the network while still getting that continual reward that the miners are seeking by using mining pools, right? It's great, right? So the base level of Qortal, I'm still very, very confident in the fact that we are as decentralized as it gets, right, as far as that goes. And everything else that we have built on top of the network will be more decentralized because of that. And it's it's just interesting. So, and this other project, so they have this concept of doing a decentralized marketplace, right? And that's cool, right? So the problem though, and this is another problem that I see on basically every other so-called blockchain-based decentralized anything, right? They all have a front end that is on a typical web server, built as whatever, it could be JavaScript, it doesn't matter, built as whatever that is running on a centralized web server. Now, that's all fine and good. They say, okay, people can clone it and spin up their own and whatever. So if this domain goes down, you can still access it on this domain or whatever, right? But how many people are going to do that is my question. How many people are going to actually set up their own web server, make a copy of this JavaScript application, run it on their own web server, and have their own access to this? Not many people, right? Like, yes, it's possible, but not many people are going to do that. And also, the data for the user interface is not secured by the blockchain. It's not on the chain at all. So it's fine that some of the data is not on the chain and not secured by the chain, but when the interface itself is not, that opens up a lot of other potential issues that Qortal doesn't have. Even if you're accessing stuff on Qortal through a gateway, it's not the same as the entire UI itself being hosted on a centralized web server. It's not the same. All of the data on QDN is secured by the chain, which means that no one other than the person who owns that name can modify that data. If anyone else attempts to modify that data, it will get rejected by the network and it will not take place, right? So all of these other so-called decentralized things, they're all having only a portion of the data actually secured by the chain. And another issue is when they say the data is secured by the chain, what they mean is the data is actually on the chain, right? So if you put the data on the chain will bloat and it will get too large eventually for full nodes to handle it themselves. And that's another reason why Qortal doesn't do that, right? We do not put the data itself on the chain. That makes it so that every single full node has to store that data. And this is the same issue with the, what are they calling them, oracles or something on Bitcoin? I forget what they're calling them. Basically the NFT things that they're doing on Bitcoin. I forget the name of them right now, but they're doing the same thing, right? They're putting the data on the chain, and this makes it so that the already massive Bitcoin database is going to get more and more massive as time goes on. So eventually, how many people are going to be able to even run a Bitcoin full node? You're going to have to be a huge server just to do that, right? I mean, it's already, 700 gigabytes or something like that? And they don't put any focus into ensuring that that database is going to be scalable and able to continue to be run on any person's computer. So another thing that Qortal does do, right? So if you've looked at how our database is structured, we have it so that the database is archived and stored in an archive that is compressed but yet still accessible by the API so that you can still call the older data. We've managed to keep our database between 25 and 30 gigabytes basically the entire time. And now we have another archiving method that is coming that will allow that database to be about 7 gigabytes, right? So we're going the opposite direction and making sure that our full nodes will continue to be run on any computer that wants to run them, and no issues with scalability as far as the blockchain itself is concerned, right? Another thing, no issues with scalability as far as QDN is concerned. All of the data, including the data for the Q app interfaces, is secured by the chain, but not on the chain. And I think these are some primary things that people need to consider when they look into other projects, and when they, just we have all these things that we built for a reason, right? We did everything in Qortal with intent. There is always a reason behind all of the things that we've done. I always like to point that out because, yes, it isn't quick, the development, right? Actually, it's really quick if you consider all of the stuff that's being done, right? And how much effort's being put into each aspect and why things are being built the way that they are. But yes, development in a space like this, when we are doing things completely differently than anyone else, it's hard for me to estimate, QApps will be implemented within, 60 days or 45 days or whatever, right? Like, it's really hard for us to estimate those kinds of things because we're literally innovating here. Like, no one else is doing any of the same stuff that we are, right? They claim to be, but they're not, right? And I think that the issues in the crypto space, a lot of them are the problems with the people understanding what is actually going on. And so I like to, anytime someone brings up another project, I like to actually install that other project and check out what they're talking about. Like, for example, I did the same thing with Dero, right? Someone suggested that Dero can do everything that Qortal can do. And so I said, really? All right. Installed Dero on my laptop. Checked it out. I saw a wallet, yeah. They do not have anything like what Qortal has. Now, their API may have some other functionality, but if you say that Dero can do everything that Qortal can do, then I expect it to do everything that Qortal can do, with it all in an interface like Qortal has, and everything, right? Like, so just people love to come off the cuff and say, oh, this project does this and this and this, or this does this the same way that Qortal does, or whatever, and they're always incorrect. There is not a single project that does anything the same way that Qortal does. And it's really kind of a key thing that we need to get people to start understanding, at least, if possible, that, we do everything for a reason the way that we do it, right? I think people really need to kind of grasp that and understand, the complexities and the stuff that may not seem important, but it really is. Like, we do not do anything in a way, like, for no reason, right? We don't do anything for no reason. Like, all of the stuff on Qortal was built specifically to do what it does in the way that it does for a reason, right? And I don't know. I have a hard time with people who say these things and then they won't even install Qortal to check it out. Like, when anyone suggests a project to me, the first thing I do is set it up, right? I'll set it up and look at it and see if they're, saying something that's actually reality, or if they're saying pipe dreams that the project has said they're going to have and they don't have yet, right? And that's really what it comes down to a lot of the time, is that these projects, they put out what they are going to have on their website with like a roadmap or whatever, but they don't actually have like any of it, right? Anyways, if anybody else has like another topic or something, so I don't just keep rambling forever, go ahead and like let me know what you think we should talk about next.
Why don't you go back to the Court Talk text channel real quick, since you quickly touched over Zeno. We got a response in one of those privacy community channels where this whole thing stemmed from. I had shared that your first impressions and how you were, what you were kind of relaying to me.
Right.
And one of the responses that was given was, Zeno has no control over where people mine in
Right.
response to the
Yeah,
80%,
I mean
right?
that's not the
So,
problem. I mean the problem comes down to proof of
so
work, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so the response was it's a common thing for most coins, as you kind of
Right.
mentioned.
Yeah.
Pirate Chain, and Dero have 80% plus of hash rate in one pool as well. Even bigger chains like Zcash have
Yeah, I
close to
know.
60% of its hash rate on one pool
Yeah, I'm not
with a
saying it's a
hybrid proof of
problem
work.
with just that coin. And yes, they have hybrid proof of work, proof of stake, which I'm not saying it's I'm not saying that it's like insecure or anything, right? I'm just saying that having reliance or having the entire network on a single pool is not good, and that
Yeah,
comes
it
down
still has
to
a fundamental
a
flaw.
fundamental flaw, right? Exactly, it's a
Yeah,
fundamental flaw with proof of work, right? I'm not
it
saying
really
that it's
is.
just that project that's a problem. It's a massive problem on basically every proof of work coin, even all the way down to
Right,
Bitcoin, right? In my opinion,
right.
I think Bitcoin suffers from this problem too. A lot of people will disagree with me on that, but
So to that,
yeah,
will you go into how Qortal, on the other hand, is sort of auto pooled, which removes that
right, yeah.
centralized
So,
factor?
right, exactly. So essentially, the entire network for Qortal is a pool, right? So there's no centralized pool. Everyone just submits their minting signature and that's it, right? Like so there's no need to pool power because the entire network is essentially a pool. So every minter who submits their minting
And
signature,
rewarded
right,
individually, each
exactly,
block.
right. Every block, every person
We're
who
not
submits
competing
a
to
minting
sign the
signature,
block.
right. So
Right,
it's like taking and making the entire network into a distributed mining pool, essentially. So there's no need to pool power. It makes no sense because there's no power to pool in the first place, right? You submit your minting signature, you get rewarded. It's like yeah, it's just a much better design for decentralization. And so that's the
right.
thing that yes, I'm not saying that the problem is specific to Zano. It's not. It's specific to proof of work. And I've said
Yeah,
this forever that proof of work has massive flaws in multiple
right,
ways and
right.
not with the algos. Yeah, that's fine. It works, right? It totally works. And if everybody were to mine solo, it would be
Hmm.
fine. But no one does. They want continual rewards. They want what Qortal has. They want those rewards coming in every block or as
Right,
quickly as possible, right? They want
right,
rewards coming in consistently like that. So in order to do that, there's only one way to do that, and that's to pool the power. And pooling the power leads to centralization, leads to issues, right? So
yeah.
yes, it's a fundamental flaw with proof of work, and that's why we don't use proof of work. I mean, we
And
do,
now
right? We
these
do have a
geniuses,
proof
and
of work, but it's not
right,
used in the same way, right? So
and now
yeah,
these geniuses come along, and I mean it in a humorous context, but at the same time, kind of poking the bear that hey, okay, so now let's move on to proof of stake. Well, hell, that's not getting any better. That's not really
right.
solving the underlying issue. Now
It's
we're talking about providing less hardware resources. Now you're literally, if you even run a validator node, right? You're literally
so
just staking your money.
there are a couple types of proof of stake. Now, the ones like what Ethereum use and stuff like that, where they have those validator nodes, similar to the old school method that BitShares used, which was witness nodes, right? And so the reason they do that is because they're worried about too many block candidates, like the same issue that Qortal combats right now by allowing only level 5 or higher to submit signatures. But we handle it a little bit differently. But they have it so that only a few nodes on the network actually sign blocks. Now, the way that BitShares did it is they have like a vote to who can actually be the ones to sign these blocks, and they still have to have a massive amount of coin to start with. Then they have to be popular too. So only rich and popular people can run the chain, right? And then there's
Right.
another type
Which
of
still
proof of
means less
stake.
amounts of nodes in total.
Right. And the other type of proof of stake is where basically you have coins in your wallet, you have a full node running. It's very similar to the way that where if everybody was equal, right, it would be similar to Qortal. But the thing is it's relying upon coin, right? So only rich people will be the ones who get the majority of the blocks, and it's still a competition for the blocks. So I don't know, man. I mean, proof of stake, the problem with proof of stake, the main problem is that it's reliant upon money, right? So it comes back down to the same thing
Power over
where
the
the
2.0.
rich people are the only ones who can be like the majority of the network's power. And so yeah, it's really like we have to have a system like Qortal where it removes the ability to gain power and influence with monetary means, right? That's the only way it can actually be fair. And so that is why Qortal does not have the ability to add any sort of extra power or influence by way of any sort of coin being involved at all. So yeah, it's, proof of stake, yes, is arguably more decentralized if you do the method where you can just have a wallet, you enable staking, you have coin in it, and it stakes, right? But it really depends on how the underlying mechanisms work there too, right? And I don't know, it's just not ideal. It's not as good as it could be. And with Qortal using the memory proof of work just to limit how many minting signatures can be submitted by a single computer, I think it's just a much better model. So it's still using a proof of work, so people who like proof of work can still be happy about that, but it's not using it as, it wouldn't be like, oh, if you have 64 gigs of RAM, you have more quote unquote power. No, it doesn't work like that. It's literally 1 megabyte of RAM is used on every node. So it's the same no matter what. It's literally just used to make it so that you can only submit X number of signatures within X time frame, right? So yeah, it's our model, I believe, will stand the test of time. I believe that it will continue to get more decentralized as time goes on, and it will continue to allow anyone to become a minter, earn influence with their time contributed, and so forth. So it's absolutely working exactly the way that it was supposed to. And it'll continue to grow our full node network, and we've already got a massive full node network. If you compare our full node network to any other, you'll realize that we have probably more full nodes than most other coins, right? Because you have to be a full node in order to mint. And right now, basically every Qortal user is a full node, right? Which is great. Now, when we get a little further along and we allow the gateway authentication and so forth, then a lot of people will be using Qortal without running a node. Also, the light nodes, which are not full nodes, but you'll be able to access everything. You won't be able to mint with them, though. So if you want to take a part in minting, you're still going to have to be a full node. And in fact, we're going to be removing the ability for top-only nodes to mint as well. So once we get the new archiving method, which will lower the total size of the database, which was the only thing that top-only nodes are really good for, is lowering the overall size of the database. Once we can make the full node database 7 gigabytes, then there's really no need for top-only nodes at all anyway. So we're going to make it much better as far as the full size of the database and make it so that top-only nodes cannot mint, because in reality, we probably should have never allowed that to happen in the first place. It only happened because of the way things were being developed, and at the very beginning, we were having issues with the size of the database before the archiving method was introduced and so forth. So it's just how things ended up being developed, right? And so now we can remove top-only nodes because they won't be necessary. Yes, you have to have 7 gigabytes of free space, which, I mean, come on, 7 gigabytes of free space is really not that hard to come by, right? So it's not going to be difficult to run a full node for the foreseeable future, and that's really the whole idea, right? We want our network to be as strong as possible. The only way you can have a strong decentralized network based on a blockchain is by having as many full nodes as possible. And so having our minting reliance upon full nodes makes it so that you have no choice. You have to have a full node running if you want to be a minter. Now, people also start to be a little confused when it comes to getting a key to start minting and running a node at all, right? We need to start getting the word out a little bit more clearly, I think, that there is no need to mint in order to use Qortal, right? because people start thinking, oh, I can't even run a node without having a key to do so, and that is simply not true. So we really need to kind of get that out a little bit more clearly, I think, because a lot of people seem to be under the impression that you have to have a sponsor in order to do anything on Qortal, which is absolutely not true. And I think with the gateway auth, that should become a little bit more clear, because people will see that you can literally use everything on QDN without even having anything running, right? So I think that'll help with that. But ultimately, people need to understand that too, that there's no need to get any sort of permission at all to use things on top of Qortal. The only time you need any sort of quote-unquote permission, and that's only from any other minter, right? So it's not like you need permission from one specific group or from one person or whatever, one company. It's not like that, and people need to really understand a little bit better. So I don't know how we get that out across more clearly, but that's something that I think we need to start working on a little bit, because the idea that you need any sort of permission to use the network is completely
we should
untrue.
say minting is optional.
Right.
Simply
Yeah.
put, minting
right.
is optional.
Right. We need to get that
Right.
out a little more clearly for sure. Because,
So let's explain. So minting's optional. So if you don't want to mint, what are you missing out on? Well, simply put, you're not going to be building up your account level. You're not going to be earning blocks minted, so a block reward, right? The ability to become a sponsor after level 5 or higher. And of course, with the future voting system, having a blocks minted count, which will equate to a weighted vote. But past that, right? That's the scope of what minting offers.
Right, exactly. So you can use everything on top of QDN. You can publish websites. You can register names. You can communicate. You can publish QApps. You can access QApps. You can do everything else. You just won't be able to take part in voting or earning block reward or increasing your blocks minted, right? Now, in the future, there will be other leveling methods too, right? So minting will not be the only leveling method forever, right? So that's another thing that people need to understand. Like, yes, if you don't want to or you can't for whatever reason, run a node, right? Even though it's very simple. Some people have like really shitty internet connections, or they just can't for whatever reason run a full node. Okay, that's fine. You should still be able to earn influence in the system in one way or another, right? And so that will be a thing in the future. You'll be able to earn influence in other ways, right? We have to design those ways, make sure they make sense, make sure the data is there on the chain so that the methods will work and not be gameable and so forth. But that will be a thing in the future too. So not just minting will be the only method to earn influence in the system. So the whole idea was that there would be multiple, right? So yeah, minting for now is the only one, but that will not be the case forever. So people can understand that too. Start making use of the stuff that we build on top of Qortal. Start seeing the advantages of the things built on top of Qortal. Yeah, and I think it'll become a little bit more clear as time goes on, and they see what is built, see how it is used, see that you can't censor it, right? You can't shut it down, it can't be down, it can't stop, you know what I mean? So those kinds of things I think are massive, massive benefits, especially with what's going on right now in the world. I think there's continually new things happening in the world that are more use cases for Qortal, right? So like just for example recently with that bank, right? This bank completely collapsed, right? Okay, well how does that affect us? Well, let's see. It literally doesn't at all. And so there are going to be a lot more things like that happen in the future. Internet hacks and like exchanges going down, all these kinds of things, right? All targeted at, guess what? Centralized things. Because those are the things that can be attacked and hacked and shut down, right? So if everything's built on top of Qortal, that becomes no longer a concern, right? My website that I have published on Qortal will be up on Qortal indefinitely, accessible on Qortal indefinitely until I decide to no longer have it up, right? So that's really like the most massive benefit, and having that tied to applications and everything else that's coming in the near future is really going to show off the benefits of the infrastructure that Qortal provides, right? And I think there are a lot of other platforms that claim to, be doing something similar, but they really aren't. Like, they're just not doing it the same way that we are. So people really need to, instead of going, oh, I've seen this other platform that claims to do the same things, they need to actually do some effort and verify that that's true, right? Like, and that's what it really comes down to, is people like not just glancing at things. If they really want to have this functionality and they think that something else is doing it, the only way to really check is to actually verify it, right? Like, go look at it and verify it. Now, most people don't do that from what I've seen, and that's, one of the things that is kind of annoying, and I wish that people would do a little bit more of, is actually verifying what these other projects are saying and how they actually do things and so forth. But it is what it is. I think really once we start getting a little bit more reach, and we have a few demo Q apps hosting videos, hosting blogging platforms, whatever, we have the ability for people to publish things without needing to publish an entire website, and so forth. It'll become a lot more clear, and people will see the benefits very easily, and it won't be as big of a hassle to get people to understand, right? So I think that it's going to be a continual work of the community to always be giving out the new information and explaining things as clearly as possible so that people understand, and helping us build demos and so forth. So I mean, once we build like the first Q app, then people will see how to do the things that you need to do to build like the authentication and the stuff that, like, publishing content and so forth. And then copying that Q app, modifying it, and making it do something else will be very straightforward. So any JavaScript or regular web developer should be able to come along and do it really easily without having to have a ton of extra assistance from anyone who has actually built a Q app before, because if they can just look at it, see how it was done, copy it, modify it, brand it, do whatever they want, and publish their own and mess around with it, it'll be really simple. I actually plan to do my own Q apps myself, even though I'm not even technically a web developer. I was back in high school or whatnot, but I mean, it's going to be so simple that I'm going to start doing it myself as well, just to see what I can do, right? So this community initiatives page and the Croetic page that I have up now will continually be getting new functionality as that new functionality becomes available, so that I can continue to demo some of the stuff that the existing functionality can do. And that was really like the whole point of having these sites, other than just obviously the community initiatives page is for those initiatives and for people to assist in those initiatives taking place by donating Qort to them. And so that is something that I wanted to have up. Now obviously in the future we can also do crowdfund for those initiatives, which will be really cool. So I'll implement that functionality in there as well, where we'll have literally a crowdfund AT that gets launched with each initiative, and then that crowdfund AT gets donations from anyone, but with a single click. Once it gets funded, it gets to its goal, then it automatically funds the creator, and we're good to go. We're off to the races, right? So like that kind of stuff is all going to be possible. I'm also going to add like a QChat contact button, so people will be able to send a message from the Q app really easily. So I want to have all of this stuff built into the site. So as we have the functionality, that functionality will all be demonstrated, or as much of it as possible demonstrated, on the sites that I already have up. And yeah, so it's gonna be a lot of fun, guys. Like, we already have like a lot of the stuff being demoed on the testnet side. Cal put together the profile, so now you can have a profile that follows you from one app, one website to another, so you don't have to have individual profiles on each one and so forth. It's going to make things a lot more easy, a lot more straightforward. So yeah, I am really excited about the development that we're doing now and what we're going to have in the near future. And I think that as we start demonstrating this stuff, it will be a lot simpler for people to understand, and they'll be very interested in the outcome as that beautiful graphic that was created recently. We are not here for the income, we are here for the outcome, right? I love that. I really, really like that phrase, and I think that people will start understanding that when they see, what the platform can actually do and why we did things the way we did and so forth. So, yeah, I am really, really excited about the near future, and I feel like that it's Qortal's time to shine. Like, with all this nonsense that's going on in the world, like, I feel like I've been living in the twilight zone for the last few years, but at the same time, we've been pushing forward with development, and we are getting there, and it's going to be an amazing thing when we have a completely decentralized blog, completely decentralized video hosting platform that anyone can come on, publish videos, look at other people's videos, publish comments, send tips, upvote things, and do everything that they can do on these centralized video hosting platforms or centralized blogs, but without any of the ownership over the top of it at all, right? And so if someone else wanted to take and brand that Q app and make it so that it only displays videos from this name, and this name, and call it whatever they want, right? They can do that too. So it's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun. People are going to be making all kinds of things. Like, they're going to take and clone the stuff that we make. They're going to be creative. They're going to make their own stuff. They're going to make it do like whatever they want, display the videos that they want, call things whatever they want. They could even call Court something different and give it a fancy name and call it a token for their community or whatever, right? At the base level, it's still Court. It doesn't matter. So there's a lot of cool stuff that can be done. People can take, when we get a little further along too, and we tie in groups to the data, people can then have private Q apps too, or they can have subscription services where you have to pay an amount automatically each month in an AT that then gives you access to a private group that then has access to whatever other data that isn't meant to be public and is meant to be shared with private groups only, whatever, right? So all of these things that exist already on centralized servers and whatnot, like, can all be rebuilt on top of Qortal, completely decentralized and in a much better way, right? So I think that the time is really getting close here where we're going to be able to go, oh yeah, look at this. And people are going to be like, wow, it's amazing, right? Because it will be. Like, just the ability to have all of this stuff with no ability to be taken down, no ability for the data to be modified by anyone else, it is incredible, right? Like, and each time you publish something by default, so however many data supernodes we have right now, which I think is probably like 6 or 7 at this point, you already have 6 or 7 copies of whatever you publish by default immediately, right? Then anyone else that follows or views it becomes a copy of it as well. So it just gets stronger, faster, more anonymous, more redundant as time goes on, right? So it's going to be awesome, guys. Like, I'm super stoked about it. The Q apps, the way that that's going to work in the UI is going to be cool too, because you're not going to have to. So another thing that I think people are, I don't know, it's a little confusing for people because they're not fully up to speed on how decentralized stuff works. So when they click the link on a QDN website right now and it shows the loading screen and whatever, they're not like 100% sure what's going on at that point. So that is going to be removed for Q apps, and instead we're just going to have a single download button. So you're going to click that download button, it's going to download the Q app, then when it's ready you click open and boom, it's instant from that point on, right? So we won't have the loading like we do, which I do like the loading screen, it's cool, but it's going to be very similar to, again, stuff that they're already used to using, where you have like an app store or whatever, you click download or install and it boom, it's done. Once it's done, you open it, right? So we're going to do the same thing for Q apps to make it as straightforward as possible, and yeah, it'll be pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about the future and really, really stoked with all the stuff that's going to be able to be done on top of Qortal. Like, I'm talking to multiple communities with large followings, James Corbett, Ernest Hancock, a couple others. I even built a presence for one recently. What is their name? I forget right now, but I built a presence for them on QDN so that when I do the interview with their podcast, I actually have Renegade Lifestyle. That's what it is. I have a presence on QDN for them already, right? And what else I'm gonna do, like live on the podcast, is actually get them with a node running so that they can actually purchase that name from me in real time and start taking over the modifications of it and so forth. So I think that's going to be a cool demo. I want to like have a lot of this stuff like ready and showing people when we do these bigger communities. So I'm going to also be doing another interview with James Corbett once the QApps functionality goes live and we have a couple of these things, because they're just waiting on that. And I kind of feel like that's where a lot of people are right now, is they're waiting on the QApps functionality before they really start pushing everyone to come over to Qortal. And I think that that's what's going to happen as soon as we do have that functionality, is we're going to get a nice large influx of new users. So all of our tech friendly people out there are going to be needing to be ready to answer questions and assist people. And the more content that we have as far as easy walkthrough videos and so forth, which I do plan to create some more myself there, but I'm kind of waiting on the functionality to be there first so I can walk through everything, as opposed to doing it now and then having to redo them once that functionality happens. And that's another thing that is kind of annoying, is that we do need more of that kind of stuff, but doing it now doesn't really make sense, because it's all going to be modified and have a lot more functionality in the very near future. So it's like, how do you balance creating videos now versus creating videos when we have this other functionality, and which ones we should do and so forth. So I think the only way that we can really do that kind of thing is break it down into individual pieces, like here's a how-to on the trade portal, which can be done now, and then here's a how-to on how to publish a website, which can be done now, and then we can do the other how-tos on individual things as time goes on. And I think that's kind of the best way that we can do it for now. But yeah, I want to do an overall like walkthrough of the UI and how to use everything. I think people will appreciate having that too, but I'm gonna wait a little bit longer until we have the QApps in the UI, which we do on the testnet side right now, so it's not that far off. I'm also going to be starting to design the blog and video hosting. So if anyone has any ideas on what they think that should be like as far as the design and functionality, let me know, right? Like send a message to me and let me know what you think. If you are good at designing stuff, or even good at just sketching out what you think something should look like, and you want to present how you think it should look to me so that I can present it to the developers who are going to be building it, by all means, right? Like we're always open to input, we're always open to assistance in getting these things done. And yeah, so yeah, go ahead, Luce, you have something? Did you say something? Maybe not. All right.
All right. No, I didn't say anything.
I tried to close my app because the damn stream wouldn't go away. Hey, real quick, will you explain how the names market is not related to account transfer privs with wallet balances and that aspect?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the names market, which will be a lot more useful in the near future when we enable multiple names per account. But yeah, so accounts are actually, you can think of it like this, right? Accounts are above names. Names are below accounts. Names are above the data on QDN, but they are below accounts. So the account owns the name, and then the name can be transferred with all of the data associated with the name, but nothing above that, which would be wallets, your account, and so forth, right? So the account doesn't get touched, the name gets transferred to another account, and everything below the name, which is the QDN data, website, QApp, public, private data, all that stuff, and the followers of the name all get transferred with that, but nothing as far as, your address, your coins, any of your wallets, any of that stuff is even touched at all. So it's literally everything at the name level and below, which includes all the data and so forth on the name, that gets transferred to a new owner. Everything above that, account information and so forth, doesn't get touched. So yeah, people I guess are confused on that, but yeah, it's literally just the name with all of the data and stuff that's on that name that gets transferred. And when we add the ability to have multiple names on an account, then the names market will probably get a lot more use, because you won't have to create a new account when you want to actually buy a name. So at the moment, you have to create a new name, then you have to send funds to that name, then you have to buy the name that you, or sorry, you have to create a new account, you have to fund that account, then you have to buy the name that you want with that funded account. And it has to be a new account because you can only have one name per account right now. But when we have multiple, you'll be able to just go in the names market, click buy on a name, and purchase another name that you then own and control too. Yeah. Do you have something, Positive?
Yeah, so once you say you have like Positier buys Croetic, for example, and I have two accounts or two names.
Two names, yeah.
So
Accounts.
how does it work for like nicknames for the wallets?
There will be a
So
default.
can I like? Okay, so I choose one as like a default,
Right.
and the other one, like nobody can send funds to that.
They
Then,
can
right?
send funds to it, yeah. The default will just be used as the username, right?
So, like, if I buy Croetic, for example, and someone sends funds to that,
It'll
will it
go
go
to
to
you.
the same wallet?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the same account controls multiple names.
Right.
It's just the only default we have to have is for the username, right? FK7, can you mute yourself? I'm hearing an echo. I can do it if you can. I'll do it. Okay. But anyways, so yeah, the you will have multiple names, right? So all of those names will be associated to the same account. So the account, again, is a level above names. So you can think of it like the account can own multiple names, the names can have data below them, and it doesn't matter which name gets sent coin or whatever, it'll go to the same account because that account is above the name, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very clear. Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
The same as an account has multiple addresses under it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, no. An
Different,
account.
huh?
Yeah. Well, there. I mean, on other coins.
Multiple nicknames, but not multiple addresses.
Right. Not multiple addresses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So multiple names. Yeah, but they're all associated to the same address. Essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So addresses equals accounts on Qortal, right? So a Qortal doesn't work like other coins do where you can create a new address, right? The only way you can create a new address is to create a new account. So that's how it's going to always be. That there's no real reason to be able to generate another address under the same account, and that would make basically everything be completely different. So if you want a new address, create a new account. If you want a new name, you'll be able to buy multiple names and have them all under one address. Address equals account. So your address is going to be your account, and then any name that's under that is going to be associated to that same address. So yeah, it's not like other coins where you have a master key that then generates multiple different addresses from that one master key. It does not work like that. On Qortal, you have one single account that is one address, that is one public-private key pair, so forth, and everything underneath that is whatever. It's all tied to the same address. So if you want to have a name that's tied to a different address, you can just create another account, right?
So I'm confused about that, and it looks like even Quick is saying that as well, because I remember Drew had said that you could, in fact, derive multiple addresses, and Quick here is saying we can definitely derive more addresses from the same keys. Is there a reason we don't want to?
Yeah, the reason we don't want to is because I think it's just going to get confusing for no reason. Like, it's easier. Right. It's easier for people to remember that address equals account. Like, I don't think having multiple addresses underneath the same account is like, why though? What is the point is my question. What is the point? Like, I think it just adds unnecessary complexity and confusion.
Well, the only difference might be if, say, somebody registered a name to create a separate company or a brand under
Then
their
they would
same
just create
account.
another account.
Yeah, that would be the way to do it, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's
So
just
yeah,
easier, like in my opinion. I don't know.
yeah.
I guess I mean
I
yes, it's
think, yeah,
possible, but I don't see the reason to do it. Like, I mean it's also safer, right, to have multiple different accounts. Like if you have like all of the stuff under one account, you have multiple addresses under that account, you have multiple names pointing to those addresses and so forth. It's super complex to configure, and it's also like not as secure, because then if you somehow lose your keys to that one account, then you lose everything, right? So
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's a better idea to have one address that is associated to that one account than if you want to have multiple, you just create another account. And we've already got the ability to manage multiple accounts in the UI and so forth. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't see the point in creating another address associated to the same account. Like, I just don't see the point. I mean, I guess if we wanted to vote that in and make it happen, I guess it's possible, but I just don't see the point. I think it's just going to be more confusing for no reason.
yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm trying to keep like everything as
Yeah, that would be
straightforward
more
as
for
possible.
advanced use cases.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I mean, I get it if you're dealing with like centralized things and you want to have like another address to send stuff to, but even if you wanted to do that, you could just create another account on Qortal. So I don't know. I don't see the reason to create another address. Like, it just seems like for no reason, basically. Yeah. But yeah. Anything else? I don't know.
No,
I guess maybe just like throwaway addresses. Maybe I could see being used as just like a throwaway
Yeah,
address.
I mean, if you want a throwaway address, you can literally just go into the UI, make up some random seed phrase, log in with the seed phrase method, don't save the account, and then use it, and then get rid of it.
That's true.
Right? Like, it's really easy to create another address in Qortal. Like, you can do that so many different ways. I just don't see the point in creating another address under the same account. Like, it just seems like there's no point in that. Because it's not like you're going to be able to share court with it or something. Like, it would still have to be sent to it, so it's no easier in that regard. I don't know. It just seems unnecessary complexity. I don't know.
one use case could be like, say you own 2 or 3 different accounts with different names on them, and say you have one for sale. We need to make it so like it's like email, where you can have forwarding of private messages or whatever. So if like, you send a private message to one of my other accounts, it gets forwarded over to my Positeer account. So,
Whoa.
just to make it easier to handle. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Well,
can do with
yeah,
email.
if you have multiple names under the same account, it would go when you log into that account, you would see the messages for all the names.
Yeah, but like for somebody like me, I think I would prefer to have separate names or complete accounts, names, everything, especially, if I'm going to make different projects, on different
Well,
ones.
yeah, well then just create another account for each one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you said it yourself.
yeah,
Different accounts.
Yeah.
yeah, no, and I'm just saying that just to.
But if you
we
want to
need
log
make-
into one account and see messages from
Like a master
another,
account.
then I mean that could be done by a queue app or something, right? Like where
yeah,
you have
we
forwarding
need a
that you can
forwarding.
set up.
Yeah,
Yeah, that could be done by either a UI plugin or a queue app. Like that's not a big deal.
and then like an autoresponder, something like that.
Yeah,
Like with
that
email,
you're talking
like,
about like specific functionality for like
yeah,
yeah, but
yeah,
that's
So-
all doable. Yeah.
yeah.
So then the next key area, obviously there's going to be multiple iterations of building out QF functionality, right? So when it comes to a certain aspect of QApps will be to enhance scalability, right? Like especially when we're talking about the limitations with QDN with hosting data.
Yeah,
So
and when you're
how does
talking about
that evolve?
scalability, I think you're using it in the wrong way. Like scalability usually refers to how a platform, when it grows, like still performs well and so forth, right?
Just one context, sure.
Yeah. So when you say
Depends on what
scalability
context
in
we're
the
talking about
blockchain
here.
space, like that's usually what you're talking about. But as far as like the ability to expand stuff on QDN, like to add more functionality to websites and so forth, then yeah, it will be scalable in that regard. Yeah, you'll be able to
So how is
add.
QApps going to work as far as the itinerary here to where it leads to unleashing 500 megabyte limits to what? Ideally, we get to 4 gigabytes, and then ideally it gets to being unlimited. How does that really play out?
Okay, so okay, so it's not a name limit, just FYI. It is a single publish limit, right? So you can publish more than 500 megabytes on a name. But right now, you can't because the only way that you can publish something on a name is to publish an entire website. And so the single publish limit is the problem, right? So when we get to the place where you'll be able to publish, say, videos, right? You can publish 500 megabytes per video, and that can be all on the same name. It doesn't matter, right? So the limit that we have right now is a single publish limit. It's not a limit on the name. It's not a limit on how much can be on a name or anything like that. It's literally just how much data can be published at once, right? And that's only because of the way the data is handled. So that is not planned to change quite yet. We first want to leave it as is, get the other QApps functionality and so forth, and see how it goes, right? We need to see how that goes. Then we can potentially increase that. It's going to be basically arbitrary. It's going to be like, okay, let's try increasing it. Once we change the method that the data is using to be published and we can increase it, we'll be like, okay, let's arbitrarily increase it to maybe 1 gigabyte and see how that goes. And if that goes well, then maybe we'll go 5 gigabytes or 10 gigabytes or whatever, right? So basically it comes down to how the rest of the functionality of QDN works with that larger single publish limit, right? So it's really going to come down to just increasing it when we can, seeing how it goes, then deciding from there what we want to do, right? So making any improvements in the back end as far as data transfer and so forth that's necessary, right? So it's really not like QApps is magically going to make everything perfect. No, it's going to allow us to have more ability on QDN, more stuff that we can do, right? The single publish limit is going to remain for now while we improve the rest of the stuff on QDN, making sure that the data is being transmitted as it should be, making sure that what was the other issue that I was going to talk about? Shit. Oh, yeah. When you publish, right now, when you publish data on QDN, for whatever reason, it's not grabbing only the changes, it's grabbing the entirety of the data again. So it's supposed to just grab the data that was changed. So if I publish a website and I change, one of the pages of 5 pages, it should only change the one page and not the rest of it, right? But it's making people re-download all of the data at this point. So we need to make sure that that's taken care of, and so forth. So yeah, it's literally just there's a single publish limit right now. So the reason people think it's a name limit is because right now the only way to publish anything is to publish a website, and you publish a website at once. So they think that it's a limit on the name, when in reality it's a limit on the single publish. So yeah, we will be making it possible to publish in multiple chunks and so forth too. So it's not like there's a lot of stuff that's going to be changing there. It's when we get to QApps, it'll still be a single publish limit of 500 megabytes, but you'll be able to publish, a single blog post of 500 megabytes or a single video of 500 megabytes, and your name can have as much data under it as you want. You can just only publish 500 megabytes at a time, right?
So you build a 500 meg website, and then you build another 500 meg website, and then you build another one, and then you can link them all to each other, and create your own little web.
Yep.
of website?
Yeah, yeah, you can do that too. So yeah, but I'm envisioning it more like if you want to have like a website like that where it's got like a bunch of just single posts, you could do just a blog, right? And then that blog could just have the functionality that you need, and you could link from one post to another, right? But yeah, you can definitely do that too. You can have, a website published 500 megabytes, then you can cross-link to another name published 500 megabytes and so forth. But then when we have the ability, so we already have right now the ability to publish things with Q chat, right? So you can right now publish a picture with QChat, then you'll be able to link to that picture from a website on QDN. Same thing goes when we have video publishing and so forth, right? Anything that's published on QDN will be able to be linked to by a website. So you won't have to publish everything all at once, right? So that's what I'm trying to get across. It's like, so if we have a publishing platform over here and you can publish a video or audio, whatever, you can publish that all over there, then you can use your website and just link to the published content. So you don't have to publish it all at once like you do now. So it'll be a lot easier, right? So yeah, you'll take the videos that you published on the video platform and just put a link to them on your QDN website. So you don't have to worry about, publishing a 500 megabyte website, 500 megabyte website, 500 megabyte website, so forth.
I was actually thinking more of Armada, the directory for businesses.
Oh, right, yeah.
So so that Armada couldn't fit everybody's website in the one website.
Right.
But if I were to create Armada separate, and then each individual business in the directory has their own 500 meg website, as long as I could link. I could click on the link and it'll bring me to the website, that would work.
So what
right?
we could do for that purpose is actually rebrand the blog platform to be used for that, right? So then you'd have the main blog page as Armada. Then anyone else could go there and publish their own post, a blog post, and that would be linked to from the main page, right? And you could build that to be all automated and so forth. So yeah, all of that stuff. Anything you can think of, man, can be built. It's just, doing the coding, making it happen. So it's, all of that is definitely possible. You could even make it so that Armada itself is a Q app. Then anybody who wants to create an Armada, page can just go into that Q app and be part of this group or whatever once they're approved, and then they can publish a page that gets linked to automatically and so forth. We can even have different service types and different data types that are built specifically for individual Q apps or whatever, right? There are going to be a lot more data types and service types and so forth in the back end that you can use. Now you could also just take the existing ones and then add an identifier and make it so that it only uses that identifier and whatever, right? So literally anything you can think of is possible. Absolutely, yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Anything else?
Have a really heavy social media sites let's say you wanted to build a Facebook,
Right.
the Qortal Facebook.
Easy.
I mean that's a really heavy database, man. They probably got.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how big those databases are, but they're big.
Right. So, it's no different. It's the same. It's just like a blog. And basically all social media is like a blog. So if we build a blog platform, you could take that and rebrand it and use it for basically anything. You could add, chat to it with QChat, and that could be built into a plugin on the blog that allows you to message other people and so forth. The database, what you're talking about as far as the data itself, would be on QDN. So it could be cross-linked to, it could be published by anyone, whatever, right? So there's an underlying infrastructure that doesn't exist on the internet. So you could do a lot more, and it would be a lot easier. All of the data gets faster and stronger as more people use it, right? So it's not centralized stuff is exactly the opposite, where you have one single location that everyone's accessing things from, so that single location gets a lot of traffic and a lot of wear and tear when it's all being accessed from there, right? In QDN, it's the opposite. So each time a person accesses that data, there's more locations for that data to be accessed from. So it's not putting any sort of weight on a single location. It's expanding it and distributing it out amongst everyone, right? So it's, yeah, we could handle something like that really easily, and it wouldn't be like heavy or whatever. Like it would just be fine. Yeah.
What? Why don't we get some live sponsorships going on here? Anybody want to come on live and get a sponsorship?
Right? Yeah, we should definitely start doing that too. Like we can say, "Yo, yeah, anybody
Get to know us.
yeah, anybody who jumps in this meeting and says, 'Yo, what's up? I'm new, whatever. Come in. You need a sponsorship? Hit us up. We'll give you sponsorship right then and there, right? Like that's a great idea. I like that. So yeah, anybody who comes in and needs a sponsorship to start minting, hit us up. Say what's up, and we will sponsor you live in this right here. So because I don't like the idea that people are thinking, oh, I can't become a mentor on Qortal because, oh, I need permission from someone or whatever. Like I don't like that. Yes, it may be that you need to get a key from someone, but it's easy to do, and we need to make sure that that is relayed as much as possible, that people can just get a sponsorship easily, right? All you have to do is say hello in this chat, in this group, say hi in video, in voice, whatever, say hello, and we will sponsor you, right? So anybody who's new, come to these meetings on Tuesdays and say what's up in voice to us and get yourself a sponsorship, right? Like we want more mentors. We want the network to continue to grow. It's not like we're gatekeeping and only allowing, people with one or the other skill set to come and be a mentor. No, we want this network to grow. We need it to grow. We want it to provide solutions for everyone to make use of, right? So anybody who wants to be a mentor, come in to this Tuesday meeting group, say hello in voice, and we'll get you taken care of. Absolutely. I like that. Yeah. But I don't know what else we need to talk about right now. I'm going to start hopefully designing an idea for a blog platform. So if anybody has any ideas there, let me know. I'm just going to start like putting together the layout and making it, what I think it should look like and whatever, and the functionality that needs to be there. So like, create new posts, view posts, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start doing that here soon so that we can get, that going. And I think that with a slight modification, a blogging platform can be turned into a video hosting platform pretty easily. There's really not much of a difference. Just one is focused around video and one is focused around posting, text and pictures and whatnot. So yeah. All of them have comments, and they're all basically the same thing. So I think a lot of people don't really realize that either, is that like all the stuff on the internet, a lot of it's basically the same thing, just used differently. So yeah. Once we get
Posting of something.
Yeah, right, exactly. So once we get like any sort of publishing platform, it can be turned into any sort of other publishing platform really easily, right? So that's not going to be like too big of a deal. Luckily, we've got some awesome developers who can build anything. I like, oh look, I draw a picture, this is what it does, and they're like, okay, here you go, it's built. Like, so it's fucking awesome. So yeah, like anybody has any ideas as far as like the actual look and feel of something like this that they would like to see, just let me know. I'm gonna start designing that out with the help of a couple people, and hopefully we'll have that published right along with the QApps functionality, because we need to have something to demo that functionality as soon as possible too. So obviously the first iterations of all of these things will not be like as complex and as amazing as they can be, but we need something simple, straightforward, that works to start with, and then we can add to it and make it better as time goes on, right? And that's how everything works in development world when you're dealing with stuff that's never been built before. We are gonna just start with something, make it work, make it better as time goes on. And so yeah, I'm really stoked to see a couple publishing platforms get started, because that's really going to be key for a lot of other things to start taking place, like I said, with the cross-name linking and whatnot.
Thinking forward, it'd probably be lucrative if you were to buy up all the podcasters' names, and then
well,
and then later on sell it back to them when they need to get on this platform.
Honestly, I don't
Do it, bro.
Yeah, you could do it. I don't do stuff like that. I feel like that like there are so many potential names that I don't feel like that any one specific name is going to be that important, but it is what it is, right? Like I wanted to make sure I had my name and I have a couple others. I did register Google because if Google ever comes to me, they can fucking buy
Someone
my
register
name.
the loot show. Let's
Yeah.
expert this loot guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not even
So
called the Loot Show.
it can be, it can be, you know. Like,
I guess it can be.
it can be, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I like name squatting doesn't really make any sense to me, honestly, because you can just take and modify the name slightly and call it whatever you want and just use it anyway. So it's really like name squatting just doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
I've had so many names in the past: Crypto Core Radio, Pirate Radio, Vera Radio. I mean, I've had so many names it doesn't even matter anymore.
Right. Yeah, and like you can just add a hyphen and whatever else to the end of it if you don't have the exact name that you want or whatever. Like it's really easy to have a name, and what makes a name valuable is not the name itself. It's what is on the name, right? And so like all these people trying to sell names for ridiculous numbers on the names market right now, it's like, okay, I mean, yeah, I guess the name could potentially be valuable, but it's not valuable until there's something on it. Like it's just a name, okay, great. Like that's cool. I could register a bunch of other names for 1.25 quart. Like there's no point in getting this one name unless it's got something cool on it, right?
$1,000 NFT on it.
Right. So that'll definitely be a thing too. So we will have quote unquote NFT functionality, which is just proof of ownership and the data tied to that proof of ownership. So people like artists can publish their art and sell that art as a name. So it can be something as simple as that can be done as a name to be sold, or it could be something as complex as an entire company with its entire web presence and its entire application and website and everything all in one name that can be sold at once too. So names are extremely versatile, extremely flexible, extremely awesome. So that's going to be like one of the primary things that Qortal can do is the names and the names market, and that's going to be basically rebuilding how companies are built, rebuilding how like all of the like domain name sales and all of that shit, but it's all together and it's all in one place. It's all awesome, right? Like it's so much better, so much better. Like people will be able to buy a fully functioning app, website, public and private data with an NFT ownership of like some company or whatever they want all at once on the names market. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like so, yeah. Anyways, did you have a question there, Nug Demolisher? I saw you unmute for a sec.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about the names, like you were saying, and when I've name squatted some, like I don't know, a year ago, but while I was doing it, I was thinking, I was like, it would be good to like, it is a turnoff if someone finds, say, like, you know, I bought some like Twitch streamers names. If they find Qortal and say, oh, my name's taken, or yes, they can make it with a hyphen, they can do all that, but to have their original name, it's a sort of turnoff. So as I was buying some names, I thought to myself, like, if we could somehow like transfer the names to welcoming things so they're reserved for the people, maybe. So like,
Yeah.
so we can even contact, say, hey, we have your name reserved here, come join.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, so that's a great idea. That's a great idea. So
Especially for
when
people like Russell Brand or, you know,
Right.
whoever of that caliber, like if
Bill
they ever
Gates.
were to come over to this platform, oh man.
So
you could, like,
the problem is like we have this one group that just seems intent on doing anything they can do to cause damage to the platform in one way or another, right? Like so all they can really do now is spam reactions in Q chat, right? Like so so much damage. But like that kind of shit is what's annoying, right? Like, but we, as a community, if we decided that we wanted to register these names and put them into a, say, I think it would be cool, like, if we have multiple names possible under an account, right? Then
Like
we
a
have
trust.
an AT that controls that account and we can have it, the people send the name to that AT controlled account, and then a vote that determines whether that account's name gets sent to the person or not. I think that would be pretty cool, right? So we could have the community decide, have the community
Yeah.
decide to give that name based on, is this person actually this person and whatever, right? So yeah, so that one person doesn't control that and whatever. But I think that is a really cool idea. It does rely upon us having multiple names per account, because right now you would have to give ownership of that account that has that name to someone, which is not ideal. So yeah, but I do like that very much. I think that's a really cool idea to be giving the names of the good podcasters and whatnot. So when they do show up on Qortal, because I don't think it's an if, I really think it's just a win, because like as powerful as Qortal is, eventually everyone will be using it. And I've always said that in the future everyone will be using Qortal whether they realize it or not, because everything being hosted on top of QDN is going to be so much more secure and better than it is on the centralized internet, that the web developers are just going to start doing it because it's better. And then people can access things through a gateway just like they could a normal website. So it's just like, yeah, everything's going to be built on top of Qortal, and everyone's going to be using Qortal whether they realize it or not. If they use it on purpose, then they can also get a benefit from it, right? So that's really where it comes down to, like, the intent. If you have intent when you're using it, and you use it with that intent, then you can have a better overall experience and get more out of it than if you're just using it like through a centralized gateway and not ever paying attention to actually using the platform underneath. But yeah, I think, I don't know, anything else, because I'm pretty much done, I think, unless somebody else has something to bring up.
Purchase a pair of Nintendo Switch game vouchers and then redeem them for 2 digital games in the voucher catalog. Hi there, and welcome back.
There's a whole chat full. We got like 30 people in here, guys. Come on, talk. I mean, we talk more in the channel in my weekly where we only have like 5 people.
You're still doing that?
Yeah, I just don't announce it, but every Wednesday it still happens. People show up. If you know it's happening, we're there. And I don't feel like promoting it anymore.
Yeah, you just do it too late for me.
It's been every Wednesday for the last 2 years. So, I mean, if you don't know by now what time and when it is.
Yeah, 6:30 Eastern
Every
Standard
Wednesday.
Time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday. I mean, it's been going, dude. It's been almost 3 years I've kept that schedule. So, I mean, if you don't know by now.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right. So come on, guys, get creative. What does Qortal need? What do you think Qortal needs right now? Why is it so dead? Come on, guys,
Developers.
participate. Nah, it's got nothing. We got great developers. This project is far more advanced than any other project you're investing in. Far more advanced. Even Pirate, it's more advanced than Pirate. Maybe not on the math level, but on the being done level, yeah, this is a bigger project. So it's a very big project. It's a lot more than just financial privacy. It's everything else that you can't get.
More about
Hosting,
towards
chatting,
the jack of all trades, right?
yeah, domain names. I mean, like this is like everything else is on Qortal, except for financial privacy, which is why you got Pirate in there. So now you got the best of both worlds. But doesn't look like it's picking up any pace. I mean, you can't even deny it. Look at the wallet. When you look at the wallet, isn't that like the best wallet you've ever seen for a crypto? I know I've never seen a better wallet than that. It's got so much functionality to it. I've never seen a crypto wallet with so much function. And so you can't even deny it to yourself. And like, look at all these shitty wallets. I mean, they're so boring. And then you go into Qortal, and it's like a fucking playground. It's like, wow, this is amazing. How do you not see this? I don't understand how people don't see this.
Yeah,
Boggles my mind.
that's my thing too. I'm like, wow. Like when I look at any of the other projects that I install, I'm like, okay, I see a wallet. Some of them are a pretty wallet, but they're all just wallets. Like all of their other functionality that they claim to have is all on centralized servers, which yes, even if you can spawn your own, it's still not the same thing as having all of the data actually on a distributed data network. So it's just, I don't know. I have a hard time with people taking issue with tiny aspects of the project and then not looking into anything at all. So yeah, it's strange to me that we're not getting
And
a little more traction by now. Yeah.
And then people are like, "Oh, you could do that kind of stuff on Ethereum or on some other platform." And then you got to go on the platform. You have to get an account. Yeah, then everything you do with that account, you have to go to all these third-party websites and then log in with that account on these third-party domains. Like, hello, security risk.
Yeah.
No, I'm not logging into your website. Not doing that.
Yeah.
Can we not make it a domain? Can we make it an application, please?
I think we just need a few more demos. That's really it. Like once we have the demos of video blogging, more stuff, right? Then I think people will really start to understand it better.
I,
Um,
I don't think people understand the threat of even going to a website yet. I mean, do you guys even fucking get it yet, or what? When you go to that website, here, check out this picture on my website, and then you go to my website. Now I have your IP address. Now I know where you're coming from. Do you guys get it yet? And then you log in and you give them even more information that they don't need. And then they have your wallet information because you logged in with your Ethereum wallet. They know who you are. They know where you're coming from. Guys, come on.
yep.
Come on, get with the fucking program already. Right? No domain names. No .coms. .coms suck.
And
We need applications.
even when we use a gateway that's on a domain, it still won't work like that, right? Like it's not gonna associate any sort of access to any sort of username, right? So there's no like it still can't do that, even if you're accessing Qortal through a gateway. So just FYI.
Yeah, yeah, but
No
the services that will
Yep.
be coming from the wallet in Qortal. The services are not coming from third-party AWS servers on different domains
Right.
for all different kinds of things. NFT this, NFT that, whatever the hell you're doing on Ethereum. You have to go log into all these domains to get it done. I mean, it's right there in front of your face. You're logging into a website. The problem is right there in front of your face, and you're not seeing it.
Yeah.
And this is the problem that's gone on since the internet was created. You know, a grandma, was introduced to the internet, and look, you just log in here, grandma. But your grandma don't know that the website she's logging into is recording her IP address or her email she put in, her preferences, her gender, or everything that they asked you to get logged in is now in their database, and no more private information. You gave it to a stranger, and that stranger is going to use it against you. Don't tell me he's not, because one day he will.
Yeah, and
If
it's
he
something that's key to notice the differences on Qortal is that data doesn't even exist. Like how many times a website is accessed, or by whom it was accessed, or any of this, like the analytics type data, it doesn't exist. You can't really do that. Like so, yeah, it's a completely different thing. It allows for real privacy. Yeah.
I mean,
I would
if
say
you guys
being
ever,
able to see number of views would be nice. That'd be
if
kind
you
of nice to
ever,
see how much traffic you're getting. Go ahead.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
sometimes that's not. That,
Well,
that could be done different ways for
yeah.
different
The only
initiatives.
the way that you can do that is to build something into QDN that basically figures out how many copies of the data exist, and then you can get a pretty decent idea of how many people who have accessed it, right? Or at least how many have accessed it or followed it, plus however many supernodes there are on the network, right? So that can be a thing, but we don't
If
have
these
that right now.
projects, if these projects had a brain whatsoever, they'd be looking at Quartal and look at it like, oh, instead of hosting on all these vulnerable websites, I could be doing everything on Quartal now.
Yep. So the only thing, like, so I was looking at it too. I was like, okay, so say like that Zano or whatever, they build their marketplace. So say they wanted to host their marketplace on top of Qortal, the user interface. That would be a much better option. So the only problem with that is that then we would have to build support for their API on the back end. So it's really like whichever projects we
Oh no,
support.
it's open source, bro. They have to build
Yeah,
that,
they
not
could
you.
do it. They could do it themselves for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
But then anyone accessing through the Qortal UI would not get the access. So they would have to build their own copy of the Qortal UI with the added functionality, whatever, right? But yeah, it's totally doable. And but if we voted support for the project, like as a community voted support for the project, then anything that they have that's hosted on centralized servers could be hosted on Qortal, and it would be totally fine, right? It would be totally
I plan
accessible
on
from anyone.
forking. I plan on forking the UI, man. I'm gonna make the decks. I'm gonna call it Pirate Decks. I'm gonna change up all the names in the UI. I'm gonna. It's gonna be my personality. I might get some strippers that come out and start dancing. You know.
Yeah, I mean, in the future, the plan, like the longer term future, is to allow everything to be branded, right? So the core and the UI to be branded however you want. And then we'll have, of course, plugins to the UI, both like default ones and then ones you can download from, lack of a better word, a plugin store. And then the same thing with Q apps. So you'll have like the ability to customize everything, right?
Well, until it's out, I don't think people know what everything means.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Everything means everything. The core, the UI, everything. It doesn't really matter what it's called, like as long as it's being used, right?
I mean, I'm trying to urge the importance of this technology. And, people, they're just so into it. It's a you know what it is. It's most people in this environment are just new. That's
Right.
that's all I. That's the only excuse I got. Because if
Yeah.
you've been here for the last 8, 9 years, you know that there's a bigger reason why we build all this shit.
Yeah. Mhm.
Not just to make a few bucks. You once you make those few bucks you're looking for, then you're probably going to start looking at what we look at. You're going to be like, oh, there's more to this than I realized. I
Yeah.
could actually hide my identity and hide my money, and I could hide my websites, and I could hide my information, and I could sell things on Qortal, and people don't even need to know who I am in order to sell them. What a great concept!
Yeah. I want to do some sort of marketplace too, but we're not quite to that point. But we want to just get the publishing platforms going first, and I think that'll be a really nice demo for people, and then they can take and clone those and modify them and do whatever they want with them, publish them on another
Right,
name, brand it however they want,
right,
and it's going to be really
right.
cool.
But
Yeah.
there might not be like an eBay type marketplace yet, which I think you're talking about, right?
Right.
But the marketplace is there. You
Mhm.
build your website and you sell your products. Look at PPM Silver. I mean, if you guys haven't looked at PPM Silver, he's making a killing
Yep.
on. He's the only like he's one of the only kosher projects I love.
Yeah. I
I
got
mean,
some
I
of
mean,
his
I'm
products.
sure there's
Yeah.
a dude. They're great. I gave some to my nephew. Because I felt bad. At that age, they got acne, and every time you get a pimple, it's a big deal for those. At that age, it's like I can't come out of the house. But he had it like a lot worse. He had it really bad. And I gave him some of that stuff from PPM Silver, dude. His face looks great now. He
Nice.
loves it.
Nice.
And his father keeps thanking me for showing him it. I mean, so dude, PPM Silver is a badass fucking. I mean, that guy alone could probably take down the medical system. He's gonna be like, I got some silver here, guys. Take care of everything.
So, yeah, but we do have the functionality in the back end now too for the ability to do like marketplaces and so forth. Then we'll just have to build simple like plugins that people can add to their website to allow for payment processing and whatnot. So, we are getting there, right? Each thing will come as it comes, and each new piece will give a new ability for people to add new other things to their sites and make merchant sites or whatever they want, right? So yeah, we will obviously announce as everything gets completed. There will eventually be a point where we have a builder in the UI, so you'll be able to be like, oh, I want to build a website, drag and drop, and here I'm gonna put this functionality and this functionality and this functionality into it. Okay, publish, right? That's how I'd like to see it in the future, where you just literally drag and drop, build your website, add whatever functionality you want with a click, and it builds that plugin into it for you, and you're good to go. But obviously, that's a little bit further down the line. But until then, we'll get as many demos as we can of the functionality that exists and talk about the new functionality in these weekly things and get more people paying attention. I think the boots on the ground initiative that is now up on the community hyphen initiatives page on Qortal is going to be really cool. People will be able to print out flyers or stickers and put them in different places, take pictures of them, send us those pictures, and we will pay them in court for doing that. To get the word out, at least get it started spreading around in real life, and get people seeing Qortal in different places and so forth. So that's happening. We have a lot of other things going on too, and
I
on
could
the
explain
marketing
that
side.
a little. I could
Yeah.
explain that one a little more. So, guys, the flyers. There's what we've been discussing with this initiative. I don't think that was a public meeting. Uh, the flyers. We just need a few to get started. So we're gonna do like a bounty, just to get that started. It's not
Contest.
something that'll be. I mean,
Yeah.
we might continue the bounty, but just to get it started, it's just to get it started. So we need flyers, right? Lots of different ones, so that people could easily just print them out themselves. That's the point. We need a lot of options, so people could print out their favorite one on their home printer, and on their way to work, they could post it, right? And when you post it, you take a picture with your phone real quick, and then you're done, right? And what you do is you show it, you post it in the channel we're going to tell you, and that's it. You get a Qortal for that, right? So if you post it in 10 unique places on the way to work, the library, the bus stop, the train station, right? And you put it in unique places, uh, not a place where it's obvious, you just put it on your toilet and you took a picture, right? We're not talking. We need it to be obvious that you're in a store, that you're in a library. It needs to be obvious that you went out and you put it somewhere where other people are going to see it, right? And if you do that, you get a Qortal, and if you do 10 of them, you get 10 Qortal, right? And there'll probably be a max for everybody at some point, but that's another way you could earn 3-4 Qortal a day without. Yeah,
This is fucking guy.
I'm from
You
Brooklyn. Why are you breaking my ball?
you don't earn the
Yeah.
platform. You earn the coin.
Yeah, get him out of here.
Ay, ay, ay.
Why are
ay.
you breaking my fucking balls? You know what I'm talking about.
Wise
Tomatoes,
guy.
tomatoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Who
yeah.
brought this
Tomatoes,
guy?
tomatoes.
But yeah, I think it's a great idea, and it'll get more awareness of the project out in the real world, quote unquote. And yeah, I think a lot of people will take us up on that. Again, that's at the Community TAC Initiatives, which TAC is a hyphen, Community hyphen Initiatives website on QDN, and you can access that at Qortal.link/community hyphen initiatives as well. So you can send that link to
Hey, is there
anyone.
any way to make those stupid links, instead of it being percentage 20 or whatever it is,
Yeah,
percentage
make it
5?
so that you have no name
Make
or
it.
no space in the name. That's why I
I was
use a
gonna say,
hyphen.
if anything, is there a way we could hard code it to make it so spaces don't turn into percentages and
No,
they can
that's
just
how
be
the
like an
internet
underscore?
works. That's how the internet
I,
works. If you
I hate
register
it.
the name with an underscore, then it'll work with an underscore. If you
I
like
see.
Qortal doesn't work that way, right? Like so Qortal can have spaces, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the internet does have spaces. So I mean, if you have to use a space in the name, it has to have a %20. Like that's just how
Yep,
that's how the internet works. Yeah.
how we were rebuilding the internet.
Yeah, right. So you can do it on Qortal. You can register a name with a space. It's just fine. But
Yeah,
if you're trying to access it through a gateway, the only way to
right.
access that space is to use the %20 in the link. So that's why I've been
Right.
doing all of mine with no spaces, so that it can be accessed through the gateway without a space, right? because it's easier that way. And I want people to be able to remember it, so I do all of mine lowercase, and I do the spaces as hyphens so that, it's easier to remember and to get access through the gateway without worrying about %20 and other such nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the flyers and the stickers, we're about to do a contest basically to let the community basically compete and, try to create something that is better than the rest and win something, And also on the submissions of when we take the pictures, it's important that they include their wallet address so it makes it easier for us later when we get, inundated with a shitload of pictures, so it's easier to basically, link the wallet with the picture, so we can fund them
Yeah,
right
down the
away without.
line, I mean, I did suggest too that because I created a group on Qortal too for this. So if they go into the group and publish it in QChat, once we have the QChat database and protocol, then those messages will last forever, and the account that publishes the name will be the one we send to. So it's easier that way. If they just do it in QChat, then we can just send the court to the name that published
Their
it.
wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
there it's easy.
right.
Yeah.
So, and like we can also build a Q app that functions in QChat so that it can be accessed through the gateway, but then there's another issue there regarding the 4.2 court that's necessary to send messages quickly. So it'll evolve in time. We will get the QChat mobile app that will be able to be used with a light node and so forth, but for now, we just got to work with what we have. So we do have the bounty submissions in Discord, and I created the group on chain. So if you're in QChat, join that group, and if you send the picture there, it makes it easier. We don't have to have your wallet address and whatever. So.
Hey, how come we specifically had it 4.20 court? Isn't that a bit unprofessional?
Who cares for one?
4.20.
And for two, it was a nice balance between being a small enough number to be feasible and being a large enough number to make it annoying for someone who's going to be using it for spamming purposes. So yeah, and 4.2 is a fine number.
Well, he's incentivizing. He's insinuating that refers to 420. The devil's lettuce. Now there
Yeah.
he is.
I really don't see the problem, and I really don't.
Yeah,
I don't care about like being professional either. I think that's a construct of the corporate world, and Qortal is not about that. So I really don't think it matters. Yeah.
You can't really think of today, guys. Today it is what it is, man. It's the cocaine bear market. I'm calling it. You saw the picture. It's the cocaine. It's an actual movie too. It's Cocaine Bear, dude. You gotta watch it.
Oh my god.
It's the cocaine bear market, guys. Don't get worried about it. I mean, it is what it is. Fact of the matter is, I think the best price, coincidentally, court ever was $4.20. So
$4.50.
450.
$4.50 on March 31st of last year. So we're getting
446 by that screenshot you sent.
Yeah, and it went
Right.
up over 450 for like a minute or two, and like 454 or something like that. But I didn't catch that.
I mean, so people complaining about buying it at 19 cents, you could all suck my nuts.
Right.
You suck my balls because I was buying at $3, bro, and I was buying at $4, and I was buying at $2. So. Anybody at this point looking at the price and thinking it's high, man, like I said, suck my balls.
Even $4 is extremely low. Extremely low.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. So this is where the project opened actually. When Qortal first started, it was around 25-30 cents, if I remember right. So.
Yep.
This is it. This is the bottom, guys. That's all I can say. This is the bottom.
So on discount.
And there's opportunities all over the place.
Anyway,
the team isn't going anywhere, and the team is, and the tech is good, and you could invest in that token. You could go invest in that token that was created in about an hour by some kid in his garage, or a few kids, or You could come to a project where there's an actual development team and people behind it, real people behind it like me that have been here for 12 years. And you could get behind a real project that probably has a lot more longevity than your token that is going to die.
I mean, there's
All
really no
tokens
way
die.
that Qortal can die like traditional projects would, like back in the day, because we don't rely upon anything. There's no centralized exchange that could go down and make it so that we can't trade. It's not possible for Qortal to die like other coins have in the past, right? Like, it's not ever going to stop being able to be traded, right? So
There's no pools.
yeah, there's no centralized aspect at all, right? And so that's what really is key with the longevity aspect, is that there's nothing that can be taken down by some unforeseen thing like a hack or anything like that that could stop the project from being able to trade or anything else. So that's really the key that people need to kind of understand, is that it's not reliance upon any of that, and that's really important. Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunately we've had a lot of people manipulate a few things here and there, and if they decide, I mean, look, they tested it. We can thank them for that, right? We got these
Yep.
idiots testing the platform for us, so that's
The
great.
audit.
Thank you.
Yep.
You know, he's fixing it for us. He's showing us what's wrong. So thank you for doing that.
Right, exactly.
You know, on top of the fact that the same person that's probably angry is the same manipulator of accounts that's selling, you know, that's offboarding over here for the last 2-3 months. If I were you guys, man, take advantage. I mean, take advantage. This guy's dumping an amazing coin. He doesn't give a fuck because, you know, that's the way those scammers are. They don't give a shit. They're going to move on to the next coin and scam that one. And that's just the way they are. So, you know, I mean, if you see cheap coins, I would take advantage of that.
I mean, once we
I've been taking
get
advantage of that, and I got
a
all
little
kinds of
bit
names
more reach, man, it's going to be really, really, really unlikely for those prices to remain. So it's like, yeah, right now it's at an extreme discount. It is
20
the
cents,
time to
bro.
buy. It's
20
crazy.
cents.
Yeah.
25
You
cent now.
kidding me?
Yeah.
It was $4.20. Now it's at 20. Think about that. You
25.
could just gain a. I mean, and there's nobody that could say out there that it won't go back to $4. And
Dude,
that goes with
$4
any
is
stock.
tiny. That's low.
30.
Extremely low. $4 is
Or
extremely
400.
low.
Even so, you know, if you were to get in now, there's nobody that could say it will not go back to where it was,
Right.
Yeah.
or even half of that. You're still going to make some dough.
I think looking at it as like trying to make anything off of it is probably like the wrong way to look at it. Like, it's just a better coin to be in long term. In the future, you'll be able to use Qort for basically everything that you need, right?
Yeah, invest in the damn future, would you?
Your
Yeah,
retirement
right.
fund. It's your crypto retirement fund, bro. We're not looking. When I say invest, I'm talking about, you know, when I take it out when I'm an old man, right? I mean,
You
I
won't
don't
need
think about
to.
I'm going to take it out tonight when it pumps, right? Or tomorrow when it pumps.
In my
I live
ideal
in
scenario,
crypto.
you won't need
never-
to take it out. You'll just be able
Yeah.
to
I don't
spend
think-
You'll be able
Qort
to spend it
on
at the gas pump.
everything.
You'll be able to
Yeah,
spend
you
it at the
won't
grocery
need
store.
to take it out.
Yeah.
You'll be able to just
Yeah.
use it. So it's really
Right.
about a
And your
long
everyday
term.
purchases.
Yeah, like
That's
we'll
actually-
have market.
That's actually the difference between many of us. We live crypto. It never comes out of crypto for us. If the market goes down, I'm going down with the market, man. I'm sorry. It is what it is. We're not buying anything this week. I'm sorry. We're going to have to limit ourselves on the milk this week. I'm sorry. But that's how we've been. We live crypto. But there are people out there that just, you know, live for trading it. They're not
Right.
living it. They live for trading it.
Well,
I'm going to, you
like-
know, when can I get out? When can I get out? That's all they're thinking.
With-
When we're thinking, when I say when can I get out? When can I get out of this whole fucking bullshit system? That's what I want to get out of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are going to continue to be more bank crashes. There are continue to be more exchange crashes. There continue to
And
be more
CBDCs.
fucking centralized coins stopping working. The fucking stable coins going down. All of this stuff is going to continue, guys. It's going to get worse. It's going to continue to
and
get worse.
CBDCs are coming.
Yes,
so
that's
the
a thing,
world will
too.
really have a ripple effect and a
So,
wake-up call.
and the
soon.
only option solution is something like Qortal, where there is literally no centralized authority, which means that anyone can use it for any purpose that they see fit without anyone telling them it's okay, right? And that means that it's able to be used for everything, right? And so when we have multiple markets, vendors, all of this stuff, you'll be able to just go to Qortal and go to some grocery person who provides services selling the things that they grow in their backyard fucking garden or whatever. You can pick up that, have it shipped to you, whatever. All your food, all the stuff that you need, you'll be able to grab in court. So you won't need to worry about getting back out into Litecoin, especially into US dollars. Now, I think holding some Litecoin is probably a decent idea, at least for the near future, because Litecoin, I think, is already accepted a lot of places, and it'll probably be more quickly adopted than Court will in some places, right? So it's probably a decent plan to have some of both, or some of every coin that Qortal supports, right? Like, it's a good idea to hold on to them just because, right? But the longest term hold, the longest term, the one that's going to last and be able to be used for everything in the future is absolutely Court. And if people don't see that, then they just haven't looked into it enough, right? And they'll see it more as we get more demos, and the whole idea that everyone runs a node so that there's no one telling anyone who can do anything with anything, right? If you run your own node, you have control over all of it. You get to say when anything happens, you get to say all of it, right? So there's no one who can say, oh, nope, you can't make transactions right now. It's not possible for that to take place. So that's really the key here, is when you control all of it, there's no one who can tell you shit. You can do whatever you want at whatever time you want, 24 hours a day, every day. Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, and can I throw one more thing here? So
I have to
still
get
hold the
going
opinion-
in like 5 minutes, so just FYI.
I still hold the opinion, though. This potentially goes beyond just hippies in the forest bartering, right? Or some real small mom and pop operations. Like we already see today, Whole Foods, right? As far as grocery, Remax, as far as real estate. There are multiple industries that are now accepting cryptocurrency as a medium of exchange. So the will of the people will be met, and as we see this transition over time, I think court has its place in those larger capacities as well. So
Absolutely.
I
I mean,
encourage
it's
everyone
meant to be used for
research.
everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to research in their own time and kind of see what I'm hinting at, because it's out there. The world is conforming. 10 years ago, the government was trying to discourage people. Now they're scratching their heads and trying to figure out how to integrate and build their own CBDCs. But of course, that's a real, dark path that we'll have to provide a viable alternative to. So research that aspect. CBDCs are not going to be a great answer. It's going to lead to more infringements on your privacy, your free speech and free trade. So a platform like Qortal will become better realized in its value and sovereignty and versatility. All right.
Absolutely.
Anyways.
Absolutely.
All right.
Totally.
Like, they're literally looking to control every aspect of financial everything, right? Like, they're going to tell you when, how, where, how much, and anything that you can spend, right? We're doing the exact opposite. We're allowing everyone to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. And if you would prefer that, then come with us, right? Like, that's just how it is.
Right.
So.
And the beauty is, though, this project has been brewing in the background and will be there. It'll be there when people need it most. It'll be there just as a viable alternative, right? We're putting in all that footwork now. So lo and behold, we're working on a alternative, somewhat parallel system, right?
Absolutely,
Great.
it's the parallel system, in my opinion. Like, there aren't any others that are done correctly. Like, not that I've seen anyway. Like, they all have at least one centralized component, or one component that is not led towards decentralization. They all have one at least, and a lot of them it comes down to proof of work. And like, obviously I can't be super idealistic and say, no supporting even proof of work because it's really the only option as far as other blockchains go. But like, it's just, like there's always at least one aspect that's not ideal, right? And now in Qortal, of course, the need to obtain a sponsorship key obviously isn't ideal either, but there's really no other way to do it. The minting keys have to be limited. There's no way that we can make it completely unlimited and also address the scalability that comes along with that and so forth. There's things on the technical side that people don't think about, but getting a sponsorship key is very simple. And like I said, come into this group every Tuesday, say hello in voice, and get a sponsorship. Like, we'll absolutely do that for people. So, but anyways, I gotta get going. I'm gonna stop the recording now because I'm not gonna like keep it recording as I'm gone. So, I will talk to everybody later.
Yep, it's been fun. It's been real.
All right.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.
Later.
Bye.
Take care.